In this video, we're going to talk about backgrounds. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a document, and this can be any document that you prefer. For this example, I'm going to use a A4, and in order to access the background of a document, and by the way, I'm using Command and plus in order to increase the size of this document. And in order to change the background, simply select the document, and as you can see, you know that it's selected since it has this blue outline. We're going to click on background color. Now you're going to be able to now see this column on the very left, and you can either choose between one of these presets in order to add a color real fast, or alternatively, if you want to create a specific or select a specific color, you can simply go over here and choose the color that you prefer from this color wheel of the hues. Now you can also pick a color from the design, so anywhere, including also the background, and especially if you're going to have any sort of images, you're going to be able to use this color picker to choose pretty much anywhere that you want in the canvas. Now on top of that, you can also use the hexadecimal code if you have a very specific color that you want to use. So for example, if I use the hexa color value of FFF and that being 6 times, you are going to see that we're going to select the color white. Now another way to add colors is and backgrounds especially, is to use one of the images under the elements panel. So here I'm going to see all sorts of different images. These are some of the most recently used, and I'm going to have also some of the photos suggested based on my search queries. However, most of the times what you're gonna do is you're actually going to search for something. So for example, let's write in analytics, and as you can see, I'm going to be able to view here all sorts of different photos, which I can simply drag and drop. Now there is this very useful feature that you can drag and drop, and if you do it on the top section of the artboard, you're going to be able to see that the entire background of the artboard is going to be covered. And if I double click, I'm going to be able to basically resize. I'm going to use Command minus in order to move back. I'm going to be able to resize and move this image anywhere that I want, and then I can click on enter. I'm going to have that image as a background. So really useful. And I also want to remind you that over here on the top, you can browse between photos, graphics, videos, and even audio based on the search query that you entered here on the top. So this is pretty much it. As you can see, for the very most part, adding backgrounds is a fast and efficient and simple action inside of Canva. So let's continue in the next video. In this video, we're going to talk about layers and how they work in Canva. So if you previously used a app such as Photoshop, Illustrator, Figma, Adobe XD, or Sketch, you're most likely familiar with the concept of layers. Now, layers are really important because some elements are going to be on top of one another and create a hierarchy. So let's examine this one, for example, creating this rectangle, and we're going to change the color to green. And now let's go ahead and let's create a circle. Now we're going to change the color of this circle in order to make this concept really clear. So we're going to give it a value of blue. Going to make this bigger, center them, and now what we're gonna do is we're going to bring the circle on top of the rectangle. Now, as you can see, in the layering system, the circle is on top of the rectangle, but in order to change this, you can click on position after you selected the element. You can see that you can bring it forward by simply clicking on forward. Now you can imagine that if you have a lot of layers, you're probably going to need to do this action multiple times. So for example, let's create another circle, and I used the shortcut Option Alt key, and I just used the left mouse button in order to create a duplicate and drag it around. So Option Alt key is going to enable you to do these things. And as you can see, once I have more than 3 elements, or actually more than 2 elements, I can see also the to back option. Now this option enables me to bring the rectangle all the way to the lower levels of the hierarchy, so that I can easily change this very fast. Now, if I only use the backward, you can see that I'm going to use it one step at a time. Now you can also use these shortcuts, which you can see over here, in order to do the same action in a fast way. Now, one more thing that I want to mention about the layers is that the moment that, for example, we resize this and we bring these circles, I'm going to change the color just to make it even more clear. You can see that as I select them and I bring this element all the way to the right, I can either group them, so I can create one single unit out of these layers. I can also ungroup them if I don't want to have them grouped anymore. And I can also change the position and the alignment of these elements. So for example, if I want all of them to be in the middle alignment, considering the x-axis, I can simply click on middle, and I can also simply select them and use this feature here, which is space evenly horizontally. So that, as you can see, I'm going to have an even spacing between the elements. Now, if we get rid of the rectangle, we can see how these tools also work in vertical modes. So let's, for example, select these, and I'm going to use the position again. I'm going to click on center. As you can see, they're centered according to the y-axis. If I space evenly vertically, you can see how I now space them even, so we have the equal amount of spacing. Now, another really useful tool in Figma, and I'm going to use Option Alt key again in order to create just a few of these duplicates, is this tidy up feature, which essentially ties them up in an order which is clean for us to work with. Now, this is pretty much it, and as you can see, I'm resizing using the Shift plus the Option key. So Option plus Shift, and simply drag, and you can easily resize them according to the center and without changing the proportions. So something which is really useful. This is it for this video, and I'll see you in the